Welcome, Ryan Ostry, to Suicide Undone. I thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview. The goal is to help impart knowledge that you've been through, having suffered from depression, having been suicidal, and having overcome that. My hope is that you can talk with our viewers about what are the factors that help you overcome the depression. Let's talk a little bit about the depression that you did start to experience. Did it start in 2013 when you had the surgery? And tell us a little bit about what transpired then.
Right. So it did start in 2013. At least in my opinion, at least in my viewpoint, there was a specific day that I remember. And again, this was more than 10 years ago. So I don't know if this was just my opinion or my experience or if this is everybody else, but there was a specific day from 10 and a half years ago that transpired. And even though that I feel like I've recovered it in a lot of ways, I'll never forget about it. And essentially January 3rd, I had a routine wisdom tooth surgery. And for whatever reason, that kickstarted a lot of issues mentally and physically for me. After that small routine surgery, which again, I'm sure that most people have had, I could barely walk because I was so dizzy. I was seeing things that I wouldn't see before. I don't want to call them hallucinations, but my vision was completely off. My perception of the world was off. For whatever reason, that surgery kickstarted a lot of negative traits that became a part of my life and that even to this day I still deal with.
Now, was it something that was just the onset was very sudden, or had you been having some mild symptoms beforehand?
Right. So it started from that surgery. There wasn't anything beforehand. I never knew what a psychologist was, a psychiatrist. I never knew what antidepressants were. I never knew what anti-anxiety medications were. I never knew what different types of therapy were. This opened up a whole new world for me. Now looking back on it 10 years later as a man, I can kind of appreciate it, and it's helped mold me into the person that I am today. But at that time, of course, I mean, it's like, you're hitting a brick wall. This is something that you've never experienced before. This is something that you didn't anticipate happening. You have no idea what's going on. Doctors don't know what's going on. And it was unbelievably terrifying every day, every second of every day, every hour of every day.
I'm sure it was very bewildering for you. And at some point, did it all come crashing down? Did you suffer a psychiatric hospitalization?
Yes. So the surgery, like I mentioned, early January, and then I was hospitalized in May. So yeah, relatively within a few months, that's when it happened.
How long was the hospitalization, and was it at that point in time that you started medication?
The hospitalization was for about a week. That was my first experience with medication. I was someone that was very anti-medication, even Advil, Tylenol, the medications that most people take if they get a headache or a bruised shoulder or whatever the case may be. And I was very anti-medication. And then that was my first time actually taking a pill. And it was nerve-wracking because I was in a hospital in a psych unit with people that needed help, but they weren't similar to me in a lot of ways. And you're only there for a week. So when you try different medications, it doesn't really kick in takes a while. But it was very overwhelming in every aspect.
I can only imagine. Did the medications ultimately help you?
Not the ones that I tried there. The medications that helped me, that was trial and error. It takes a while. It takes usually, I would say, a month to a month and a half to even start to feel a little bit different, to notice those neurotransmitters maybe even working just a little bit better. Everybody's different. I'm obviously not a psychiatrist, but usually from medication that I've experienced with, it's taken between a month and a month and a half for me to notice a difference. And I've tried a wide variety of different medications. So
Were you able to function during this time? Were you working or going to school? And how did that go for you?
in terms of like right after my surgery in January,
After the psychiatric hospitalization?
um, so my surgery being in January, then I was hospitalized in May. From that time, no, it got to a point even after my hospitalization where I needed 24/7 hour care. I could not get out of bed. I could not eat. I could not shower. I could not use the restroom by myself. I could not go more than 10 minutes without sobbing my eyes out. It was a full on depression. And now when I hear about it, there's such a huge difference between being sad or upset to comparison to depression, such a huge difference. So it was a full-on depression. And to answer your question, no, I could not function. I could not do anything that normal people like you and me would normally do.
It sounds like it was a major depression going on. And at what point did suicidal thoughts start to set in?
Shortly, depending on what you want to call it, short, but within a couple weeks after my surgery.
Were those thoughts, were they just ongoing thoughts, or did they just pop up episodically? And what ways did you think of in terms of methods?
No, they weren't really random or sporadic. They were every day. I don't know how often, but they were every day. There wasn't a day that didn't go by where I wasn't thinking about that. Ways that I thought about it, normal ways, without being too graphic, being physical towards my wrists, locking myself in a car with the garage shut. I would say that those were the two main focal points with that. I mean, there were times where a local school where I'd play basketball, there was a huge brick wall, and I would just go 100 200 yards back and drive 80 90 miles an hour and just go head on. So yeah, I mean, those were a few that were ruminating within my mind.
Did you share them with anyone? Did you reach out to anyone for help?
Not really that I remember. When I was hospitalized, there's standard protocol where they ask you, hey, do you have these thoughts or harming yourself or somebody else or blah, blah, blah. So I'm sure then I did, but before that, no, I did not share that with my family, my friends, anything like that.
That must have been a very strong feeling of isolation for you. So now you suffered a second hospitalization, 2016. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so like I alluded to, 2013, hospitalized, got on medication, took a while. For a couple years, I was great. Fast forward to, I went away to college, about an hour away, and I actually got off medication for a while. And my first semester in college, I was just on top of the world. Had a sense of euphoria, just very, very excited all around. Met so many great people, and I thought it was great. And then in 2016, you come home from Christmas, winter break, whatever it's called, and for whatever reason, it hit me again. Again, I was not on medication. Um, and I believe it was in the fall of 2016 where I had to take a semester off. So that first year was just great. Transitioning, I believe it was into the summer. Um, and I don't know if it was because I was away from school, away from my friends. Something in my brain switched, whatever it was, it happened. And I got hospitalized again, I believe in August of 2016. And I had to take that whole semester off. And that's when I kind of knew, like, it's not really a problem. It's just I cannot go off of medication again. Um,
So
so
the realization set in that there's something biophysical going on that was driving the depression. In your case, do you have any family history of any depression or any other disorder in your family?
yeah, so I guess the first part to the question is you can literally feel it inside of your brain. Like if, hypothetically, if you have a bunch of sugar or a bunch of candy, you feel great while you're having it, and then you come off of it and you're at the peaks and valleys, right? It's in my brain when I was in 2013 and 2016, those two separate times, I could literally feel it inside my brain, all day, 23 hours and 55 minutes a day. I would be crying, upset, you know, I'd have a commotion, whatever you want to call it. And then maybe once or twice a day for 30 seconds, I'd get a high, as you call it. And for about 5 or 10 seconds, you would feel that high. And then you go crashing down back to where I normally was. And that's how you know that, excuse me, your brain chemistry is not where it's supposed to be. Um, so yes, you can feel it inside of your head. It's not, you can feel it. As far as family history, I have uh, there's a couple people that have had some type of experience with psychiatric help. Obviously, everybody is different. My situation is very different from family members, but there has been a couple people that have had and needed that type of care.
Now, with the second hospitalization, 2016, the suicidal thoughts reemerged for you.
Correct.
So you went back on medication, and did you feel that you started to recover once again with the effect of the medication?
I did, but it took a while. It was not a over the night. It wasn't, it wasn't Monday I was feeling like crap and then Tuesday I was feeling normal. It wasn't like that. It was different situation, but similar to 2013. It took a month or two and I was finally able to go back to school, got on medication, obviously. And I have not been off since 2016. So whatever, 7 years ago.
To what extent would you say that engaging in psychotherapy, to what extent did that help you?
Monumentally. The key is not to just find someone that has a PhD in psychology. Um, you really have to find somebody that's suitable for you. And that takes a while. It's the same thing as medication. There's 100,000 different types of medications. There's 100,000 different types of therapists with PhDs and psychiatrists, but you have to find somebody that's suitable for you. And that takes a lot of groundwork and a lot of effort. And that is stressful, just like anything else. It takes a lot of work. You have to find somebody that is suitable for you and that will provide a certain therapeutic approach for you. Because again, everybody's personality, the way that they react to something is completely different. So
this is so true. And I've heard so many people say that it's really about that therapeutic relationship that's established. And some people do very well with a particular personality, and for some other people that just doesn't work. So rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater, right, and give up on the process, I think it takes a commitment to the process and doing that footwork, as you said, and continuing to try different people. Sometimes it's just really a question of the personality, and sometimes it's a question of the particular strategy. But I'm really glad that you found someone that was able to help you. And what do you think in particular was helpful about that therapeutic encounter?
The one that I stuck with, I was with for a while, honestly. Probably from the age of 19 to 22 or 23. Being 19, just being young and dumb and not really knowing a whole lot about anything. Not only was this specific therapist helpful in terms of my mental health, but this person was also a mentor towards me, almost similar to a father figure. So he kind of played a lot of different roles within my life. You think of therapy, especially going back 40, 50, 60 years ago, and you're laying down on a couch and the therapist is in a suit and tie with a cigar going out the mouth or a pipe going out the mouth, and you're laying down, and it's not like that. If you find somebody that can be your therapist slash friend slash mentor slash role model, that can essentially that can play a lot of roles within your life, that is somebody that is for you. And this person, just because he was 50 years older than me and he had a PhD and he was very well accomplished in life, and I was a young, dumb kid at 19, that he didn't have a egotistical side that betrayed that with him towards me. So that helped me a lot. So not only did I learn a lot about mental health and different coping strategies and techniques, but I learned about how to become a better person, a better man, a better friend, a better son, a better brother, etc.
Thank goodness that he was available for you and was able to be so helpful. Were there any particular areas in which he was able to help, like on a concrete level?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, alluding to the mental health aspect of it, would be how to relate better to my thoughts. He had his strategies like everybody else, but his strategy and kind of essentially dumbing it down to a level that someone who's never had therapy before or who never studied psychology helped a lot. And yeah, I mean, even to this day, again, like I've had other therapists, I've tried other different therapies, but there's still techniques to this day that I still utilize from him. And again, that was 10 years ago.
Now, you mentioned that you were able to find lifestyle habits that help to stabilize your mood. What specific habits helped you?
Yeah, so just a little bit of backstory. In high school, I was 6 foot, about 130 pounds, 140 pounds. I could eat 5, 6 meals a day. I would never gain weight. And it was kind of the same way up until my first stint with depression when I was 19, and being on medication that would increase your appetite because I wasn't able to eat because of the depression. I gained a significant amount of weight. And that was kind of the first time when I'm like, okay, you know what? My metabolism won't be this fast forever. So I actually have to start taking care of my not just mental health, but physical health. So I guess just kind of almost making me realize that I'm not, like, I am human. Like I do have to go to the gym. I do have to watch what I eat. I do have to watch, my everyday kind of habitual things that I go through, because I'm not going to be like that forever. So there's just certain things, like, of course, taking better care of yourself physically by going to the gym, doing meditation, guided imagery with basically closing your eyes and making yourself, or putting yourself into a space where you feel comfortable. That all kind of is included within that physical/mental health that I obviously utilize now.
Yeah, it's very much a holistic approach, right? Focused on self-care, and it's the total package. You can't just take care of mental health and then neglect the physical health, or vice versa, focus too much on the physical and neglect the mental health. What can you tell us about relationships, whether they be healthy or harmful, in terms of the impact that can have on one's mental health?
It's catastrophic and extremely influential. Being in both, I've seen both sides of the coin, and it can make or break you. But something that I always say is that from every relationship that you ever have, and again, it's not with a wife, a husband, it doesn't have to be like that. It's, if you're a brother or sister or friend or cousin, and hypothetically, if you don't have that relationship anymore, or if you have that relationship but from a long distance, you're not necessarily as close as you once were, that's okay. But as long as you learn one thing from every relationship that you're in, I feel like it can help unbelievably. I mean, again, it sounds so simple, but just one specific thing. It could be positive, it could be negative, but as long as you learn from that one specific thing, and if you utilize that, which I have in every single relationship that I've ever been in, it could change your world. It could honestly change your world.
There are a lot of relationships that people find themselves in that can be toxic, and that can have a very devastating effect on a person's mental health. So I think it requires a certain level of discernment to be able to know what are the healthy relationships and which are the unhealthy ones, and then to have that strength to be able to limit the destructive relationships. A lot of people stay stuck and they're unable to move on, but part of taking care of yourself is who you allow into your life, right? And that impact is very huge. So this is a very big part of self-care also. So were you able to move on from unhealthy relationships, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, so what I've always said is that, again, hypothetically, let's say you're in the best relationship in the world, just you and this other person. That's great. You still need to go, in my opinion, to relationship therapy, because just like most therapists, not most, all therapists, they still need therapists too. All of my therapists that I've ever had have therapists. You're not too good for anybody else to be giving advice, or just because you have a certain degree, or just because you have a certain level of intelligence. That's great. You might know more about the subject than I do, but you're still human. And that's
Yes,
something
exactly.
and that's something that, again, not all therapists that I've had, because again, there's trial and error, but the few that I've really, really enjoyed and that I've stuck around with, they're like, hey, you know what? I got therapy tomorrow, or I got therapy next week, or whenever. And they're normal people. They have a degree in psychology. Um, so I think that that's key. And the same thing with kind of tying it back to a relationship. I think that at the beginning, especially with couples that are relatively new, I think that you need to go to relationship therapy, even if you have not had an argument yet, even if you think that you're on cloud nine and you're in this stage of, oh my God, like, I'm so in love with her or him, and we're never going to have a dispute of any kind. You're going to.
Everyone brings baggage from their past,
You're,
right?
and again, everybody, it's not an indictment towards you or you. Everybody has it. Every single person has it. And if you go to relationship therapy and you can kind of, again, find the right person, not everybody's great. If you can find the right person that can kind of dissect that and kind of essentially bring you down a level and be like, hey, you know what? You guys are starting a relationship. I know that you guys are at the beginning stages, but you guys are going to fight. You are going to have to set boundaries for yourself, for you, for him, for her. You're going to have to set expectations so this person does not think inside of their own head that, hey, this person's going to do X, Y, and Z, and then they do the complete opposite. So if you can speak with somebody regarding that, I think that it just sets you up for a lot better future than if you didn't.
I agree. A lot of times people approach therapy from a sense of stigma, and it's really, there's nothing stigmatizing about it. If it's viewed as an opportunity for growth and for healing. I remember one time it was a conference, and the room was packed with psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists. And the question was put out to the audience, who in this room has engaged in therapy? And all the hands shot up, right? So I think in order to be effective as a person, it's necessary to have an understanding of what your issues are. And if it's approached from the point of view of personal growth, right? Because there isn't a single human being alive that doesn't have issues, right? Because it's a less than perfect world, and everyone has had a less than perfect upbringing, but the potential can really be huge. And you're a living testament to that, by you saying how much that therapeutic process really helped you. So if it was just medications, it would not have been as effective, but medication combined with therapy is what it took for you to be able to heal. So that's pretty awesome that you've come so far. What advice would you have for someone that is at the depths of a depression and contemplating suicide?
Yeah. there was a new stat that just came out, and being within, again, not within the field, but having this being part of my life for the last decade, I'm interested in it now because it is interesting. And I feel like every year the stats just increase, and it's unfortunately very upsetting. But 1 in 4 people attempt suicide, and 1 out of every 2 people are diagnosed with some sort of mental health diagnosis. Again, 50% of people. That's either you or me are diagnosed with a mental health disorder. That's crazy to think about. From someone that has been beneath rock bottom, and that every second of every day I felt like I was in hell. It's so difficult to see the future and the next day and how you're going to escape this torture. It is, and I'm living proof. I don't. It was. It's beneath rock bottom. It really is. If you're in that specific type of place, it's beneath rock bottom. There are answers out there. There are answers. I'm telling you that from living proof, from someone that could have been dead a long time ago. There are answers out there. And it might take a little while, and you might have to gut it out, and you might have to feel like crap every day for a little while, but I promise you from my core that there is an answer for each specific person. For whatever your issue is, whatever your case is, for whatever your problem is, there is an answer. It might take a while. It might, again, finding the right psychiatrist and the right therapist and figuring out whatever you have to do. But I promise you that there is an answer, and that eventually you will be able to smile, because you don't think about that in this. I never cracked a smile for months and months and months on end. And that's, if you can't even like laugh or smile, I mean, that takes a toll on you. I mean, you don't see what's going on inside of your brain, but if you don't even crack a smile for a joke or with your friends or family, I mean, that takes a toll on you. And if you're in that situation, you can't do that. And I never thought that I would smile or laugh again. And I ended up doing that. And the first time that I did that I felt like I just won $1 million.
So it's really key to maintain hope for the future and never give up, and have the understanding that how you feel today is not how you'll feel the next day or the next week, the next month, the next year. And we see so many examples. I've dealt with a lot of suicidal people where we've implemented suicide watches, and it's never on a prolonged basis, because eventually there is a resolution. And it's so amazing to see a person to be at their very rock bottom, and then with the right type of help, just really just make a dramatic transformation. So that is the message for people who are so severely depressed. Just hold on. It's not going to last forever. So you are doing things very admirably to try to help people. Tell me about your Facebook page.
Yes, so that's relatively new. My goal, again, as cliche as it sounds, if I could, and we've talked about this, if I could save one person's life, I mean, that's more than zero. A lot of therapists, psychiatrists that I've been to that I didn't stick with, they weren't in situations that I've been in. And again, everybody's situation is different, but from people that suffer from anxiety, depression, that are severe as I was, I've been there. Now, again, different situations, and I know that I'm not comparing, but we've been in the same boat, so I feel what you feel. A lot of therapists and psychiatrists don't feel that. They've never been through that. They don't know the feeling. They just know how to try and help you get past that, if they can do that. If you've been through that situation and you've been in that grind every day where you just want to die every single day and you don't want to take another breath, and you can't do anything that a normal human being does, and you want to talk about it, you want to share your experience, you want to voice your opinion, whatever you want to do, that I'm someone that you can do that to, because I've been through all of that.
Yeah. It's just involves a willingness to be willing to share, right? And there's always someone that has been through that experience that could kind of throw you the life raft and, help you overcome. So ideally, it can be a combination of different factors that bring about the healing. So through a support network of friends or family, professionally, and through psychotropic medications. So there's never reason really to be totally hopeless, because the help is out there. And on that note, I came across this past week. It's something that I shared through Facebook. But this is so relevant to what we're talking about today, and it's a description. So I just want to read it to share with the audience. At age 17, she was rejected from college. At age 25, her mother died from disease. At age 26, she suffered a miscarriage. At age 27, she got married. Her husband abused her. Despite this, her daughter was born. At age 28, she got divorced and was diagnosed with severe depression. At age 29, she was a single mother living on welfare. At age 30, she did not want to be on this earth, but she directed all her passion into doing the one thing she could do better than anyone else, and that was writing. At age 31, she finally published her first book. At age 35, she had released 4 books and was named Author of the Year. At age 42, she sold 11 million copies of her new book on the first day of release. This woman is J.K. Rowling. Remember how she considered suicide at age 30? Today, Harry Potter is a global brand worth more than $15 billion. Never give up. Believe in yourself. Be passionate. Work hard. It's never too late. And she is J.K. Rowling. So this alone is a story of, no matter how bad it is and what life throws at you, if you never give up and just believe in yourself and keep forging on, absolutely it could change. And who would have thought, right? I'm sure if at age 30, if you would have told her what the future held in store, she probably would have been in disbelief.
Sure.
And I'm sorry, any last thoughts for us?
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously I know who J.K. Rowling is, but of course I didn't know that story, and that's just unbelievably remarkable. I feel like people that have been in our situation are so much stronger because of it, because I feel like you cannot evolve as a man or a woman unless you go through trials and tribulations that literally break you down to your core, and then you learn little tricks, or you learn different tips to build you back up, and then you're going to build yourself back up better than you were, which I did. I almost felt like I had blinders on before my surgery, because I was so, I felt like I was happy and I was going through life, but I never experienced, I didn't experience the trials and tribulations that I did after my surgery. And I've gone through so much that's broke me down, but I've learned so much, and I have so many different viewpoints and perspectives that I never would have had before if it wasn't for going through this sickening disease. So you can use it as true optimism and being positive for the future if you utilize it like that, and it can make you into a lot better, more all-around person, because it can happen. I'm living proof. J.K. obviously a multi-millionaire, is living proof, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of other people that are proof of that fact. And it just depends on what you want to do with it. It might stink in the moment, and that month, and that couple months, whatever, but it will build you back up, and you will become a better human from it, when at the end of it, I promise.
Absolutely. And I think trials and tribulations are unfortunately something every human being alive has to deal with, but those trials and tribulations could be stepping stones to greatness. So on that note, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I want to wish you the best of success in your future path. Thank you once again.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.